Hey everyone, this is Ole Sharanki from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast.
Okay, cool. Today our special guest on pause, and now it could go up. So today our special guest is Cynthia Olmedo, okay? Olmedo. You know, because the thing is with Spanish, she's like, but anyway.
Yeah.
For the feminine, but that's a whole other thing. So Cynthia Olmedo is here today, and she is the assistant director or associate director of Alumni Career Services at University of Houston. And so basically connecting students with jobs, connecting students with career services, whatever they want to do as they graduate from University of Houston, that's kind of her role. But the thing is, she's really passionate about early youth education and career development, actually. And so that's why we wanted to bring her here today, so that she could kind of share her journey and then what she's working on, and then how she's doing her PhD work and how that's going to impact future education. And so with that, Mr. Thank you. So welcome, Cynthia. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If you want to just kind of start out just telling people about your journey to success. What was middle school like? What was your education like, both formal and informal? You want to kick us off?
Sure. So I'm a native Houstonian. I did go to private school, 1st through 6th grade, very sheltered. And then 6th grade, my parents felt like, hey, let's save a little money and let's toss her into to public school. And that was a shock, complete shock, right? I had no idea what was going on in the real world. So I experienced that. And I thought it was really smart, though, when I went to public school, because I wasn't the best student in private school. And then I went back to private school to finish out to 8th grade. Then I went to Milby for high school. Now, at that time, Milby was the most populated high school in Houston. I mean, the third in Texas. We were capped off. Like, you could live across the street and you still couldn't get it in Milby. We were capped off. There were so many students there. And I did okay. I loved high school. I was involved in everything. I was like swimming, soccer, ROTC, dance, just everything. But because I was having so much fun, my grades weren't the best. So by the time I finished high school, I didn't even apply to college. And so my mom's like, okay, well, you need to go to HBC. You need to just apply for classes. I was like, oh man, I wasn't even thinking like I should have been doing what everybody else was doing. So, she took me to register, and I was a little sad, but I did it, and I was, able to focus. I didn't have all the friends around anymore, right? They were all gone. And I did well, and then later I ended up transferring to University of Houston, and I decided I wanted to major in nutrition. Because I thought, wow, I like science, but then I was like, food. You eat food every single day, right? 3 times a day. It affects the way you feel, the way you look. I just thought, man, that's really important. And that's how I decided my major. I was like, yeah, let me major that. So I did, and I did really well, and I graduated. But I did one really important thing, which was I got an internship on my junior year. And it was nutritional research. That's when I discovered the research is very slow, and I didn't like slow pace. I like quick. I don't like waiting on people to do things, but that was like a personality thing.
Yeah.
But I realized that, I was like, I do not want to do this. So on my spare time, when I was at Baylor at that time, Children's Nutrition Research Center. That's where I was. And what I would do is I would find jobs for other people. So like my friends needed jobs, my family needed jobs. And so there was so much downtime, I would be like, okay, at that time it was like chronicle.com. And I would be looking for jobs for people, and I'd be doing their resumes. And one of the times I was doing that, I came across a job, and it was called Career Management Specialist. And I was like, what is that? And I read it, and I'm like, that's what I do for fun. Like, I didn't even know a job like that existed. And it was with Harris County Community Development. I didn't care that I had a nutrition degree. I was like, I can do this job. I can find everybody a job. It didn't matter if they didn't speak the language or had a criminal background. I could get them a job. So I applied for that job, and that's kind of what propelled my career. I worked for Texas Workforce Commission all over Houston. So I started in Greens Point. Then I went to Westheimer, then I went to West Park, and I ended up in Pasadena. So that's kind of, my journey there.
So going back on your journey, you have basically this time period where it's like a transition private to public school. Could you kind of talk a little bit more about that? Like, because a lot of times, you know, people are just kind of born in a certain condition or position, and it's like, especially now, you know, people talk about school choice and vouchers and all that stuff. Like, being able to go from private school now, you know, working on your PhD, what are your perspectives on that?
I mean, I ended up sending my daughter to public school just because I felt like I was so sheltered that I didn't learn a lot of things that I should have known. I was very naive. So even though they spent more time with us in private school, and I did value that education, it just almost wasn't practical. Because when you go, I mean, people are going to live in the real world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did value that education. I understood why my parents did it, because they wanted me to just learn and be protected, and that's the education that my mom had. So my mom did go to college. She was not a first, I'm not a first gen student, because she did go to college, but my father did not. So he was, of course, like, okay, I want you to take the route that your mom took and go to private school, and that's going to be the best.
So do you feel like, and if I'm getting too personal, just like,
No,
kid, okay, do you feel like your dad, how do I put this, kind of looked down on himself, or kind of just didn't feel like, oh, I guess public school versus private school versus, I don't know what and him not having a degree, how did that impact his view of, like, kind of, I guess, himself education?
Right, he did. He wanted the best for me. I believe he went to like Kashmir school, so that's the area that they lived in. But I mean, I can't really talk down on that because my aunt, his sister is a doctor. They went to the same school. So I can't really say, you know, it's better or not better, but he did just want the best for us. So I think that's why he ended up sending us to private school.
Cool.
Hey LYS fam, it's Ole. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that even though the cost of college can be daunting, the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook can assist you in realizing your dreams. You can identify and apply for scholarships using the information, advice, and resources in our comprehensive guide. Also, we've provided a template for a successful scholarship essay to help you stand out from the crowd. Don't allow student loan debt to control you. Get your copy of the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook right away to take charge of your destiny. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to that fire conversation.
So tell me a little bit more about getting into college and how it was in college. Well, you said you did a lot in high school.
Yeah.
So did you do a lot of those same things in high school? Were you really active?
In college?
In college, yeah.
I think I tried to focus more on my studies. Then I was on a few organizations, like nutritional organizations and things like that. But I felt like it was a little late because I did take a detour. So when I went to HCC, I had a friend of mine and he was going to go to A&M. They had a bridging program so you could kind of test out to see if that was a college that you would like. So I did that bridging program. And I had a blast that summer. We went to A&M. It was like a veterinarian medicine, and I learned all of that. So I did actually go back and ended up transferring to A&M. The problem was that what I experienced that summer was not what I experienced in the real school year. And I'm an extrovert, and being ostracized, it didn't feel right to me. I felt, you know, I need to feel included. That's just a thing for me. I have to because I'm a social person, and it just wasn't a good fit. You know, it's great school, it just wasn't the right fit for me. So I came back, and that's when I ended up going to University of Houston. I felt like being around people that look like me is just, it's important to me.
So speaking of that, how and why are you so active within the U of H system?
Well, I mean, it's my alma mater. I do see people, you know, most of the people at University of Houston are Houstonians. So I can see where they come from, all the different schools that they come from. I relate to them. You know, they are usually struggling financially, so I understand what their struggles are, their challenges that they face, and so to me, I'm able to help them better because I have that understanding.
So with that being said, obviously, you know, switching majors, you've experienced that. One of the major causes of student loan debt is switching majors. So can you talk to us about that as it relates to, you know, career development and education?
Yeah, so what I tell students usually is if you are doing well in your classes and you enjoy your classes and you're learning well, then you need to stick with that major, okay? Because a lot of times the way that you know you're in the right major is because you enjoy going to class, you enjoy what you're learning, but at that same time, you have to be looking for internships or volunteering, or if you want to be an architect, you better be talking to architects. You have to make sure that that is the right choice early on, like freshman and sophomore year, so that if you want to change, you've only taken your basics, so you're not wasting money.
Yeah.
And then you can change. But by junior year, you kind of need to know where you're going. Yeah, you do need to know where you're going.
So with that said, let's say, we're your family, we're one of your family members, and you're trying to give us advice on what to do today. Like, because students face a lot of challenges today.
Right.
They got AI coming up, you got work from home, and so what does that mean? That means somebody might not be in the workspace to mentor a guide, and those internships might not be there the same way. Like, what advice would you give us if one of us was your family member?
So what I usually say is you want to take advantage of every opportunity that you have. So that means that, if your uncle has a flat tire and they need help change it, you go help change it. If somebody's baking cookies, you don't know how to bake cookies, you do that. You just like walking through life with a tool belt on, you're just picking up as many tools as you can, whether you like them or not. If you don't like them, that's fine, at least you know that, right? And you can respect the people that are good at it, even if you're not good at it. But you just have to have that tool belt full, right? So that when you're ready and you find that opportunity, you're ready and you have those tools ready. And you can't just wait and be like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at that. So it's just really picking up and absorbing everything that you can, all the knowledge. If somebody offers you a chance to learn something, you have to take it.
So and we were talking about this before we started. Tomorrow's Monday, we go drive to the nearest high school, and we just pick out one kid and we say, hey, let's take what you said and let's move it, let's take some actionable steps here with it. A lot of times that kid's gonna be like, no. I don't want to sit here and I don't want to do jack squat. So that's one of the biggest issues, right, we're dealing with our young people is the apathy, right? It's just, you have, in a day and age where you have access to more resources and tools and specialists to help you and guide you, they've almost gone within themselves. And they haven't really had these opportunities to express themselves. So if you were dealing with that person, what are some of the things, what are some of the questions that we would ask? How do we approach talking to these kids? Because I think in the bell curve of our students, I think the majority of them are in that. That's where they are,
Right. They just think school is boring. Because it's like, where am I going with this? How is this going to help me? So I think finding that spark is like, okay, what are you good at? Making them recognize what they're good at and taking chances to meet other people. It's like, okay, you like video games? Okay, well, what do you like about video games? Do you know how they're made? Do you know who makes them? And then kind of introducing them to that profession and ideally to a professional that does that. That's what builds that spark. You're like, yeah, that's the route I want to take. Now school isn't so boring. It's like, okay, I'm going somewhere with this. Yeah. But if you don't know where you're going, then it's just, it's just dragging on and on.
There's a song about that.
Yeah.
So then, is college even relevant? Because if you could just find somebody who knows how to make a video game, why can't you just get with them and make a video game?
Yeah. Well, because there's society, there's just requirements, a lot of times that's just the ticket in, right? If you have to have a degree, then you have to have a degree. It lets you in, and then you decide what you want to do once you have that degree. But it's the degree, at least the bachelor's degree, it feels like it's just proving that you can learn just about anything, right? Because they make you take all these courses, you don't even want to take them, right? But you can learn just about anything. That's what it is. To an employer, is just that proof that you're teachable.
So then, what would you say to a parent then who's like the ROI of college? Like, if somebody can, because this is the thing, you hear about like the Zuckerbergs. I dropped out and now I got this $1 billion company. And sometimes I think, when kids look on social media, that's kind of like pushed on social media where it's like, be an entrepreneur, 9 to 5, and then it's just you're gonna blow up.
And you may be,
So,
but you need a foundation. You need
Yeah.
a backup plan.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine if that's what you want to do, but you still need that foundation just in case. But I'm still gonna let you, do what you want to do, but you have to have that kind of backup plan.
So then what would you say to a parent who's kind of in that situation where maybe they feel their kid's rebellious, because growing up, we're Nigerian background, so it's like, doctor, lawyer, engineer, shame to the household. So what do you say to that person where it's like, what should they be doing?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have a lot of the students that I talk to every day, and they let me know, and I can tell they're doing poorly in their classes because that was not their choice. But like they say, if I'm not, and my parents is paying for it, then they're gonna make the decision what my major is. That's hard to do. That's a real challenge for me.
Yeah.
But, so I just have to say, okay, that's fine. If they're taking opportunities, volunteering, doing internships, there's nothing saying you can't have an engineering degree and then go do what you want. Go teach math. Go, do what you want. But, if that's what you have to do, then that's what you have to do.
So a lot of what you said, what you just said is it deals with a lot of kind of finding your mission, your passion, your life's work. So I think that's a little bit to do with your PhD work or your EDD work, right? You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I'm kind of examining career exploration, like when does that begin? Usually it's very early on that people ask you, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Okay, depending on when you ask you. If they ask you in elementary, you might be a firefighter, you might be a doctor, because those are the professions that's what's around you. Then when you get to middle school, kind of media kicks in more, and then you're like, I'm gonna be a famous basketball player, I'm gonna be a race car driver, I'm gonna do these things. But by the end of middle school, that's when all the barriers hit. It's like, wait, I have to know that. I have to do this. I have to stay in school this many years. So that's when it starts getting cut down. Like, okay, now I don't know anymore. What I want to do. So what my dissertation is going to be is examining people, professionals that have been in their career for 10 plus years and they're happy with their career. Like they are content, and I'm going to examine their journey of how they found their way there. What was their methods of exposure? Did they know somebody? Was it the media? Was there something that happened in their life? But what got them there? So that's what I want to do, is kind of follow that so it can help other people. So like, okay, this is what I need to do to get to career satisfaction.
Hey LYS fam, it's Ole once again. These days, many families are busy but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
So I want to ask, based off of some of your early research, what's a unique data point or something really unique that's like, this is interesting as far as, have you ever noticed anything?
Yeah, definitely, like role models. How important role models are. Now, there's a difference between like role models and mentors, because mentors is somebody you engage with. But a role model can be somebody like, I just saw my friend do that, I can do that too. That's a role model. It can be on TV or it can be in person, but having that role model, it lets you know I'm capable of doing that also. To me, that's an extremely important career exploration method. The parental support also is important, especially if you're going to do something that's costly. Right? If you want to be an engineer, do your parents take you to engineering camp? Do they get you involved? Do they buy you things and let you have those experiences that are going to make you a stronger student?
So as a parent and coming from that kind of, again, background a kind of inner city, let's say there's not that much money to go to these camps.
Yeah.
What would you tell that parent? And then also, what would you tell the educators in that environment? Like how to get this exposure?
I feel like it doesn't require money to call up an engineer, to call up a doctor, have them come to school, having career days. That doesn't cost much money.
Yeah.
Just to be able to expose them and to have those conversations, tell them about their upbringing, tell them they can do it too. You know, tell them some stories of failure, not just success, because then they realize, I talk to students that are doctors and they'll tell me, oh, I got a C in organic chemistry. Most of us be like, oh my gosh, if I can't pass that, then I can't be a doctor. Well, hearing the failures lets you know, like, no, I'm okay, I can still do this.
Okay, cool. And then what about the parent? Because a teacher or a principal could set up a career day. But what about that parent?
The parent, I think, you know, there's always like when you go to museums, there's always like free days. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations out there too that will give you that exposure. A lot of the programs that I've seen, like STEM programs or art programs, they have waiting lists. If you're not able to afford that, you know, and that's what I look for to try to help.
So basically try not to look at the sticker price, but look at the opportunity and be bold and ask the question, hey, when is the free day? When are you know letting people in, or are there scholarships available? Those different kind of things. Okay, cool.
You know, I'm reminded of a really good quote that I got from Festus. It's from Jay Abraham. It's about business. So there's two costs. There's the cost of hiring someone who's competent to do a good job, and there's the cost of not hiring someone competent and all of basically, and I'm paraphrasing, and all of the hiccups and the things that they mess up in that you have to pick up the slack for. So I think about that in regards to, so polite. So I think about it in regards to kids, is there's the cost you can pay, just a little bit, there's a little bit, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's a little bit of money, to make sure that your child is able to get access to that thing they're looking for. And then there's the cost of not doing it and them kind of just being lost and kind of just nosing along. And, you know, there was that opportunity to go and do that thing, you know, but for whatever reason, you know, wasn't able to do it. Or the parent wasn't thinking like, oh, they're not going to take this seriously or these things. Because the amazing thing about young people is they're so observant. They see so many things, and the way they see the world is completely different than an adult. And so I think that's powerful, you know, what you're saying.
And you have to be optimistic. You can't look down at you and say, hey, you can't do that, or you don't even know that. Because I know my grandfather, he had told me that, isn't it horrible? He said, I didn't believe my daughter could be a doctor. He's like, isn't that horrible? You know, because he worked for the railroad for Union Pacific for like his whole life. And he goes, well, she couldn't even put the tire on right, or she couldn't do this. You know, so just, and you know, people do that a lot. As soon as they're like, oh, you're in college, well, then they try to test you. Like, oh, you're not that smart. That really gets to me. You know, those kind of things almost like kept me from wanting to even pursue a program, because you know you're going to be challenged. Like there's certain expectations of you now. It's like, I don't want those expectations on me.
I want you to finish. You brought up a great point. I'll never forget, I took business stats, business statistics, and there was a guy who was interning. He was, I think they call it not intern, but he was auditing the class. And he was like in a master's program. And I had my test in my hand. I'd been doing on the test. I think I got like a D or F, and I'm just like, man. And he was looking at it, and he's like, he had a very monotone voice, and he's like, oh, it looks like you didn't do too well on the test. You may want to consider dropping out. And I was like, it took every fiber of my bones, just, you know, African profile, just, you know, but, you know, I think he was just a very forward person, but things like that was like, you know what, I got you, I'm coming for you. But, you know, then the next test, I think I got like a C, I was like, A and a D. You know, I kept fighting through it.
It's so shameful. Failure is so shameful, and I think that's something that people have to get over. So that's a question sometimes I'll ask, like my daughter, so like, oh, how was your day at school? It's like, okay, what did you fail at today? So it's not like, what did I fail at? Because, you know, I work with a lot of international students. When I ask them that question, that is not a joke. They're like, no, I would never, nothing. I don't fail at anything.
Wow.
You know, where is the students that were brought up to me, they're like, oh, I did this and I failed that, and it's like it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, if you're not failing, you're not trying.
So then, how do you get over that sense of failure? You know, because a lot of times, let's say a person grows up, you know, one parent household, those different types of things, and they're seeing like in their mind like that's failure. Right? And then it's like, okay, now you want to go to some big college, and you know, so talk to us a little bit about that. Like, how do they overcome that sense of what failure is to them to actually try to become something, make something of themselves?
Yeah, I think you just have to realize like it's not part of your identity. Because the same thing with a lot of alumni that I see, they attach their identity to their job title. And then when they've been working there for 30 years and then they get fired or let go or laid off, they don't know where to go. But it's like, okay, but that was just your job. That's not who you are, right? You have to know who you are, and even when you have those failures, you have to be able to separate those.
Wow. So talk to us about that. You got people now who are going back to school, getting more education, re-entering the workforce. What are some of the things that you're doing to help people navigate that space?
I like to make them realize that you have to be able to pivot, you know, because things are going to change. Like the job market changes. Things that used to be, you know, really in demand are not in demand anymore. And even with students, they feel like school and education in your career is like going to Subway. It's like, okay, put, you know, some high school, some organizations, and I get a scholarship, and just do this, and then look, at the end, you're just perfect, right? That's a perfect career, that's exactly what you wanted, making the money you want, everything turns out. And it's not. It's more like a video game, to where, you know, you have to go this way, and then you lose a life, and then you go this way, and you lose a... That's the way it really is. And I think once they realize that, they're like, okay, I'm kind of ready for this. And you have to prepare yourself mentally for that.
So then,
Well, I was just gonna, how much have you noticed, how much more important is adaptability? Because I think because of the changes that we have, I feel like that's something that's so much more important, is the ability to change situations and things like that. Is that something that you notice is like a lot? It's become a bigger thing now?
Yeah.
Because like in the last couple of years with COVID, we went from going to work, working from home is literally the norm. You got people, someone said, I'm only looking for work and
Right, yeah, that is.
Remind me, you hitting an emotional spot there.
I'm only looking for work from home jobs. It's like, I remember that I would never, like, that thought would have never come to my mind.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but even employers have been able to have to adapt to that, because if you don't offer that, it's like people don't want to work for you, because if I can make the same amount of money and work.
Okay. Olay did it. Okay. So look, if you're watching this later, or you're listening, if somebody could hire somebody that works from home, and you don't ever have to come in, what stops that person from hiring an international worker that will do the same job for $3 an hour? Okay? So while people up here playing games, talking about some, give me $100K, I'm gonna work from home, like, you better get your act together, okay? Because the thing is, we're in a global economy, okay? And for that same $100K, I can hire 30,000 people at $3 an hour and figure out which one's gonna work. Okay? So I don't sorry, but I just gotta be real with folks right now. Because the thing is, this is nonsense. This is nonsense. And you sitting up here on social media thinking that, oh, you know what? Because I actually seen this job description where it's like, I'm passionate about a work from home career. And I'm like, you know, please, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody is about to do that, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you got zero experience.
Yeah.
You barely get down to college. So why am I going to test that learning curve with you when there's people in India who have PhDs who $3 an hour is they're used to $3 a day in their country. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I say all that because I think there's a unique set of challenges that this generation faces that we've never had to face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's one of the things that we like to do is kind of talk to that younger generation to be realistic. You know, if they're not out there changing the tide, they're not getting that hey, when I'm in your office, I'm bringing some value to the table that other people, that the guy in, Taiwan is not going to bring to the table, or the guy or person wherever else in the world is not going to bring to the table. You have to have that grittiness about you to be able to go out into the street, face failure, face the fact that some days you just be like, that's not it. You know what I mean? And so, with that being said, we just want to kind of open it up and give you a floor now to kind of just express, what you're seeing, what you're working on, and just your overall thoughts, what you're going to do with your doctorate.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, so I'm just getting into doing my proposals, so I'm going to be doing my data collection part during the summer, and then I'll analyze those results in the fall. So in the summer, I'm going to be looking for people to survey, people who are professionals. So if you know people in any profession that degree, no degree, I want to look at everyone's career journey, whether they're electricians, plumbers. Well, I already have my electrician and my plumber, but just looking at everybody to see what the career journey is, so I can see, what are the similarities and what are the differences between those that are content with their jobs and those that are not. Because I have had, alumni that have come to me 5 years after. He was an attorney, 5 years, had his own practice, and then told me, I don't want to do this anymore.
That's not it. Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean you don't want to do it? And I was just thinking, how did you not know this? Right? Why did you choose to be an attorney?
Yeah.
He says, well, because I was good at it. He said, I did well in school, so I was good at it. Okay, well, what didn't you know? And why you don't? He said, I didn't know that criminals don't pay. That I have to go solicit for my work. But that's the reality. So I think there's no substitute for life experience. You can look in the book and say, yes, I'm going to be a teacher. But until you're actually a teacher in the classroom, and kids are behaving the way they're going to behave, and parents are, being parents, then you don't really know that that's the right job for you. That's why usually you won't stay for more, nowadays, to 3 to 5 years. And you can figure out, is this for me or it's not for me? And then you want to change, which is why I'm going to interview professionals that have been 10 plus years, because they're past that mark.
Love it.
Hey LYS fam, it's Ole. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show, because it's some good topics.
So at this point, we want to pivot. We have some people here. We want to take you guys' questions, or Cynthia, and even for LYS, I guess, for that matter, regarding college, career, her experience. So we'll open it up for any questions.
Okay, I want to ask my first question in respect to international students and career services in the United States, because that most of them are here to study and practically they are contributing to the economy. However, when it comes to maybe getting a part-time job, because they are in as full-time students, is pretty difficult. So what are the prospects for them? What are the options they have?
So a lot of our international students will work on campus. So the most important thing for them is networking. Because in our office, we hire international students, and what happens is every student wants to work on campus, so they'll come and they'll ask, can I have a job, can I have a job? But really the way it works is it's who you know. It's not that one's better than the other one, it's just who you know, and having a friend that's gonna vouch for you and say, yes, he's a good worker.
Right.
That's the one we're gonna hire. And that works, throughout the whole campus. So I think networking is extremely important, and then building a brand for themselves. You know, what makes them different than anyone else? If they have an engineering degree and somebody else has an engineering, what makes them better? What makes them different? So they have to have something unique about themselves and be able to really prove themselves, even if it's through volunteering, you know, or anything else like that before they go into their CPT, their OPT, you know, once they graduate.
I'm slow. What is that?
Practical training, curriculum practical training. So that's right when, like, they do their internship while they're still a student. So they have that experience. And then after they graduate, they go to OPT, practical training. So that's when they can work in the United States for up to 3 years, depending on their major, their STEM major.
Oh, wow.
Right.
And that's all considered part of education for international?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Right. And you mentioned networking. We know some people may have skills back home. They maybe, let's say, administrative jobs, which most people get easily over there. They are able to do those. But maybe when they come over here, they don't know anymore.
Right.
Yet they have the skills.
Yes.
So what's going to be their predicament?
Yeah, so that's when we have workshops where we practice networking. We have them interacting with each other, asking questions and things like that, because in a lot of countries, you know, the one that gets hired is the best person. Right? They'll just give you an assessment, you're the highest scoring, you're the one that gets the job. I tell them, well, in the United States, that's not the way it works. It's, do I like you? If I like you, I'm gonna hire you because I have to like the person that I'm gonna be working with. So I told them it's not about being the best, it's about, you know, being the person that they want to work with. So we practice that, we practice, you know, small talk conversation. That's something that usually a lot of international students are not comfortable with that. They don't see the need for it, but you have to kind of explain and practice that and tell them that there's a huge need for that, you know, if they want to get into the market, the labor market.
We have another question.
Yes, I wanted to ask about the example that you gave with the lawyer, like, because if that guy in that situation, he's got to make a pivot.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you what that would look like making that pivot. What does that look like?
So that would just be exploring like other skills, like what he likes about the job and what he doesn't like about the job, the characteristics of that occupation. So he might like the fact that an attorney is persistent. Okay, so you're looking at that. You're looking at his knowledge base. What else has he done? What else is he interested in? And just kind of moving it, which usually we just have to change the resume and kind of adjust, because I mean, being an attorney, it's like, okay, you know, somebody's going to value that education. So we have attorneys that work even in career services. You can always use that type of education. It's really about your interests and what else can you do.
So with that person, do you say, hey, more schooling, or you say no?
No.
Skills, okay.
No, I don't like when a student goes through school and they're like, I can't find a job, let me go back and get my master's. No, because people are always going to value experience more than the education, because you can't just like get more from a book, You have to really dive in and do the work, and that's what I tell them. Even if you realize that you don't like it, then you can pivot, but you have to jump in the water at some point. You know, so even if you're working at Starbucks, which a lot of students are, they work at Starbucks and then they have a degree in HR. Then it's like, okay, they're like, I can't find a job. Well, don't you think Starbucks has human resources? Then other beverages, their competitors have human resources. So it's like, try to use that experience that you've had in that industry. You're not doing the same job, but just use that experience to do, you know, what you want to do that uses your major.
What would you say to people who are trying to do that but struggling because of the job requirement, or the preferences have X amount of experience, but they don't have that experience, but they have those transferable skills?
Yeah, that's difficult, just trying to find those entry-level positions, and a lot of times that experience is going to be gained through small companies. So it's like getting into the small company, getting that experience, and then taking it to a larger company. So sometimes that's just like a hidden job market, but you know, networking and looking at what small companies are out there, who's going to let you in. Sometimes even like at churches or nonprofits, you can gain a lot of experience from there, and then you can take it up to oil and gas if you want.
So let's dive into that, because I think, especially now, everybody wants, you know, that six-figure, high-paying, right? And there's a lot of startups out there. There's a lot of small businesses that might not be able to pay that big salary.
Right.
How would you tell somebody to navigate that? Should they stay at their job and work part-time or shadow, or what? Kind of talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, they can do that if you're saying that they want that, if you're looking at
Yeah,
a corporation.
because let's say, for example, let's say somebody is making $75,000, $80,000 a year. It's a pretty decent paying job.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know if I want to do this, you know, for the next 10 years, next 15 years.
Right.
How can I pivot to get the required skills in a different role, right?
Yep.
But not give up my salary per se. Or are you saying, hey, look, man, just take that pay cut?
Yeah, yeah. No. So if you're making that much, you're pretty comfortable. You're making 80,000, but you want to make 6 figures. But it's looking at what your goal is. So I like to work backwards with students. So looking at what the position, where is the position that you want that's paying the 6 figures? What does that job description look like? What is it required that I don't have yet? And then kind of making, okay, they want this, I don't have that. This skill, okay, where can I find this skill? Because sometimes you can find that skill on like LinkedIn Learning or Khan Academy. There's so many different things where you can just learn that skill. They're just looking for it to be on your resume. So that's what I do. I don't like go back to school, get another degree, just try to see where you can learn that skill. And a lot can be done online.
Cool. Okay, cool. Any other questions?
So you had mentioned an example where somebody had been working in a company for a long, extensive amount of time, and then once they were laid off, they didn't have like their own identity because their work was their identity. In a culture like America, where it's just like you grind and you work 9 to 5, and then after that you're just like sitting and watching TV for your relaxed time. How do you separate yourself from work in order to find your identity in a culture like this? Like for me, I struggle finding hobbies because I find that like sitting on my phone is just easier than like actually going out after I'm exhausted from school. So it's like, how do I find the energy to go and do these things?
Yeah. So to me, I just go back to like what I really, really like. So I remember what I first wanted to be when I was little was I wanted to be Paula Abdul, and I wanted to be a dance choreographer. So I literally, because I can't find time to go to the gym, I literally Googled like dance class, you know. So I try to find something that I find it's not even work. It's not hard. It's just something that I truly, truly enjoy. And then I was able to find actually a place that offers exactly what I was looking for. So I was able to do that. Now, trying to separate the identity, what I do is I keep a document and it has like all my accomplishments. Because it's like, that's me, that's my identity. So like on my LinkedIn, I try not to put things like, I'm the assistant director of Alumni Career Services, because you know what, maybe tomorrow I'm not. But who am I? With or without a job, who am I? So I say, I'm a career development specialist. Like whether I have a job or I don't, that's what I love doing. I like developing people and their careers. So it's just finding, okay, who am I outside of that as a professional, and finding those characteristics and adding to the experience. So like nobody knows what I feel that my accomplishments are, but I have them on this document, and I say, I did this, it didn't exist before I did it. It didn't exist before I did it. And I keep that, and it's like, that's what like pumps me up, that nobody knows except me, and that's my identity.
I love it. So yeah, we cannot thank you enough for being here, for sharing your expertise, your experience, and your insights. We can't wait for you to get your doctorate. And were we doing a book afterwards? Or we doing a program?
Maybe a book, maybe a program, because I want to get like elementary school, middle school, high school students out there doing something.
Wow.
You know, you want to be a welder? Let's see what that's about. Because I always wanted to weld, but I've never been given the opportunity. It's something I think I would like. But I want for whoever wants to do those things to be given that opportunity.
Love it. And so, any closing remarks?
No, I think you wrapped it up perfectly. Just thank you so much for your knowledge.
Thank you for having me.
And can't wait to call you doctor. We're going to call you doctor already.
Yeah, that's our thing. And doctor already. So listen, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. Thanks for watching this episode of Battering Success Edu-Steps. And so we'll see you in the next episode.
Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS Podcast.